Coming up, a decorated sheriff's deputy is acquitted on 2 sexual abuse charges, but the jury is hung on 20 other counts.
No one's mind was going to change, and people had their set positions.
So what's next? A little boy who inspired so many to reach out has lost his battle with cancer. A goodwill gesture from Canada to the New England states, a thank you for lending a helping hand a century ago.
People in Maine don't really know about it.
Plus,
I'm Don Kerrigan in Bangor, where a building student from Eastern Maine Community College is finding herself in the national spotlight.
the news starts right now. Hello, everybody. I'm Cindy Williams. Thanks so much for joining us. We begin this half hour in Augusta, where a jury found a Lincoln County Sheriff's Deputy, Kenneth Hatch, not guilty of 2 of the charges related to the sexual abuse of young girls, but failed to reach verdicts on the remaining 20 charges against him. News editor Chris Rose joins us now with the story. Chris.
Well, Cindy, jurors told the judge that even if they were given more time to deliberate, they would not reach a unanimous verdict on those remaining charges. As for Kenneth Hatch, he did not speak with reporters, but his attorney said his client is feeling relieved.
As Kenneth Hatch waited in the courtroom for the jury's verdict, he learned jurors found him not guilty of 2 charges, sexual abuse of a minor and furnishing marijuana to a minor. But they told the judge they could not reach an agreement on 20 other similar charges.
Extremely relieved. He'd like to see all not guilties, but 2 not guilties and hung on the others, you live to fight another day.
3 women came forward to say they were all sexually abused by Hatch when they were girls or teenagers. Hatch's attorney said the women had an axe to grind with Hatch and the abuse never happened.
There were 3 friends that basically banded together, and then these charges resulted.
The prosecutor says he's disappointed that jurors could not come together to reach a clear conclusion.
No one's mind was going to change, and people had their set positions.
John Risler told those jurors during his closing remarks that the women had their personal and sexual lives exposed by coming forward and testifying. He said they would not have done that just to try to get back at Hatch.
I certainly know the victims are disappointed, and I think that based on what they had to come in and testify about, that's certainly understandable.
Now, Kenneth Hatch's future as a Lincoln County deputy is unclear. He was on unpaid administrative leave from the department pending an internal investigation, and his attorney says he is also currently out on disability. Cindy?
Chris, is there any indication that the state's going to retry him on those 20 charges the jury got hung on?
Well, the prosecutor says no decision has been made yet. He will discuss that with the alleged victims in this case and his supervisors. Now, a conference on the status of the case is scheduled for December 22nd. It should become much clearer by then. Cindy?
All right. Chris Rose, thank you so much. Police in Rockland say that a man who had been using a cargo container as a shelter died over the weekend, possibly from carbon monoxide poisoning. They say Adam Purrington, who was from Gardner, was probably overcome by fumes from a forklift that he was using to keep warm inside the container. The temperature outside that night was in the mid-20s. The state medical examiner will determine the exact cause of death. Purrington, who was 37 years old, worked at the local docks and was described as a nice man who kept to himself. A boy from Saco who bravely battled brain cancer is now free of pain after so many of you helped fulfill his final wish. Jacob Thompson's family says he passed away peacefully on Sunday. Thompson, who was just 9 years old, had stage 4 neuroblastoma. His family made plans to celebrate Christmas early because it was Jacob's favorite holiday. Their request for homemade Christmas cards to be mailed to the hospital went viral, and his story touched the hearts of so many. Jacob received tens of thousands of cards from celebrities and people from all corners of the earth. It was an interview with News Center 2 weeks ago in which Jacob's mother said that the response her son had gotten was just overwhelming and inspiring.
It's just amazing that one little boy has touched lives from all around the world.
Jacob's family is asking people to channel their love and support to a new cause, Operation Gratitude. It is a program that supports troops overseas. They also hope people will continue to donate to cancer research so that someday there'll be a cure. We have more on the passing of Jacob Thompson coming up on Newscast at 6 o'clock tonight. A very large Canadian guest visited the state capital today, an enormous white pine cut down in Nova Scotia. A gift to the city of Boston for its role in providing relief 100 years ago when an explosion leveled parts of Halifax. Part of the tour included a stop in Maine. Newscast's Tori Ryden explains why.
The reason for Augusta, well, it's very simple. Maine played a pivotal role back in 1917, helping the folks from Halifax.
A town crier in Augusta with news from Nova Scotia.
On December 6, 1917, the city of Halifax was devastated by what was at the time the largest explosion known to mankind.
Triggered by the collision of the French cargo ship SS Mont Blanc and the Norwegian SS Imo in Halifax Harbor, fueled by 5,000 kegs of TNT and nearly 500 kegs of benzol.
100 years ago, the province of Nova Scotia was forever changed. We lost thousands.
The Minister of Nova Scotia personally giving thanks for the quick thinking and quick action of New England states that fateful day.
I have found it very emotional to think back, the response from what we used to refer to as the Boston states. And even without the full details, Maine and Massachusetts responded with the relief trains.
Trains filled with Maine National Guard members and doctors, nurses, medical supplies to help the 9,000 injured in the explosion.
People in Maine don't really know about it.
State Archivist Samuel Howes didn't know the role Maine played either until shortly after he started his job.
It was actually the first request I received for a reference request, and I thought, I wonder what Maine did.
As he discovered, a lot. And Howes' research prompted the visit of this 53-foot white spruce, cut down in Nova Scotia's wild Cape Breton region. It's an annual thank you gift for Massachusetts' help in 1917. But this year, for the first time ever, the tree arrived in Maine first, thanks in large part to Samuel Howes.
From here, this white spruce will be hauled all the way down to Boston, where it will be put up proudly in the Boston Common. In Augusta, Tori Ryden, News Center.
Up next here on News Center, President Trump makes a big move against North Korea and expects to see movement from Congress on an issue that will affect your bottom line. And later,
you're not going to hit me, are you?
How a Maine Tech student has already taken some big steps toward building her career. Don Kerrigan introduces us to her as News Center at 5:30 continues. Janet Yellen is submitting her resignation from the Federal Reserve Board to President Donald Trump. In her letter, she promises to do her utmost to make sure there is a smooth transition for her successor as chairman, Jerome Powell. Powell was named by the president to be the new Fed chairman after Trump decided not to offer Yellen a second term. President Trump says he is adding North Korea to the state sponsors of terrorism list. He also says he wants the Senate to pass tax reform and have it on his desk by Christmas. There may be movement on that front, though some senators, like Susan Collins from Maine, are still not endorsing that plan. Edward Lawrence reports from Capitol Hill.
Fair to our companies, and it's not fair.
President Trump today declares North Korea a state sponsor of terror. The regime was removed from the list by President George W. Bush.
In addition to threatening the world by nuclear devastation, North Korea has repeatedly supported acts of international terrorism, including assassinations on foreign soil.
He says the Treasury Department will impose the highest level of sanctions ever against the rogue nation.
This is all part of just continuing to turn this pressure up, and we continue to turn the pressure up on North Korea.
On his domestic agenda, the president pushed Senate Republicans to pass tax cuts.
With the Democrats giving us no votes for tax cuts for purely political reasons, obstructionists, it will be up to the Republicans to come through for America.
The bill is passed. The House already passed their version last week. To make the Senate tax plan more attractive, lawmakers signaled they would remove the provision eliminating the Obamacare requirement that everyone buy health care or pay a penalty. Complicating things, the president blasted Arizona Republican Senator Jeff Flake on Twitter, saying he'll be a no on tax cuts. With 52 Republicans in the Senate, every vote counts. While Republicans are desperate to end the year with a legislative victory,
tax increases on nearly 80,000 people in Maine.
Their opponents are doing everything they can to stop it, targeting GOP moderates like Senator Susan Collins of Maine. If the Senate passes the tax cuts, the House and Senate bills would have to be merged before the president could sign it. Edward Lawrence, NBC News, Washington.
Your weather is next here on News Center. Plus, Maine businesses that focus on the outdoors are teaming up to get consumers to buy more products from this state. That plus a preview to a special weather segment coming up as News Center continues. Maine's outdoor industry, competitors in Maine's outdoor industry, competitors are coming together to form a trade alliance led by retail giant L.L. Bean. 30 businesses that focus on the outdoors are forming a group called the Maine Outdoor Brands, and together they'll market Maine as an outdoor destination, growing small businesses and startups and attracting new companies to come to the state. It has the support of the state's Economic Development Commissioner, who says people who work in the outdoor industry tend to be younger, and Maine's aging workforce needs young people. Similar groups exist in states like Vermont and Washington.
The outdoor industry is incredibly important for the economy. I love the fact that we are organizing together in the state of Maine. I think always, although we are competitive, and I'm sure lots of folks are competitive in the room, we are always better together.
Maine Outdoor Brands has already secured grant money to send smaller businesses to big trade shows like the Outdoor Retailer Show in Denver this winter. And speaking of winter, an overnight dusting of snow covered the roads and grass in Torrington, Connecticut. And believe it or not, some drivers had problems getting around. Multiple accidents have been reported since the snow began to fall. They just don't know it like we do.
Yeah, and you know, that first snow of the season tends to get people. I don't know if they haven't changed over the tires.
You don't have your tires on.
We have a story
you
that's coming up. It's going to be interesting. Let's first get to the weather, and then we have some winter weather to talk about. All right. Gusts, windy today, right? That was the big story. I was outside for the noon show, and it was noticeably windy, and it made it feel a lot colder than it really was. Winds still 31 miles an hour in Millinocket, 20 in Caribou. Those will settle over the next few hours. Right now, though, making it feel like below 0 in Millinocket, in Greenville, 4 in Millinocket, and in the 20s over southern coastal Maine. But as the winds settle, things will not warm up, but they'll feel a lot more temperate outside. A couple of snow showers out in the mountains right now, part of a bigger lake effect band that was really humming earlier to the south of Watertown and into Syracuse. This is classic lake effect snow time of the year when you have relatively warm lake waters and very cold air masses. When it gets over on the right fetch, that's when you get your lake effect snow. Tomorrow's a good looking day. High pressure starts to build in between this warm sector, and we get southwest winds. So temperatures will be in the low 50s for a lot of us and almost complete sunshine. Certainly the nicest day of the week. Wednesday, computer models disagree to some degree whether or not this low will hit us, but I'm going to go with showers on Wednesday, particularly along the coastline, and then lesser chances of showers as you move farther away from the coast into the foothills and mountains. That moves out, and then high pressure builds in for Thursday and Friday. So Thanksgiving and the Friday after look quiet. Chilly, but seasonably so, right around 40 degrees for high temperature. Hour by hour forecast, temperatures start rising through tomorrow. We get into the low 50s in spots by tomorrow afternoon. That doesn't last long, though, because the sun isn't up all that long this time of the year, as you may have noticed. Then on Wednesday, here comes that system. And again, there's a little bit of a disagreement. So this map doesn't show you a ton of rain, but I think we will see coastal periods of rain on Wednesday through early Wednesday afternoon with a little bit of mixing possible in the higher terrain before that moves out on Wednesday night. And then Thursday, again, is a pretty good day. Not much going on there. Partly cloudy skies, mostly sunny over southern Maine, and temperatures right around 40 degrees. Here are your highs on Tuesday. You know, you wouldn't have been excited about this about a month ago, but now, as we start trending towards winter, this feels better and better. Temperatures in the low 50s over southern coastal Maine, probably not getting anywhere near that over the northern part of the state where that warm front is going to be kind of stuck up here, and it won't allow that warmer air in to places like Millinocket, Caribou, Presque Isle, and northern Aroostook County. So the week is generally quiet. There will be some rain possible on Wednesday. Thursday looks good, mostly sunny, partly cloudy on Friday. Clouds increase on Saturday. Saturday actually could be sneaky nice because we'll see some sun and we could get into the low 50s. So that'll be pretty nice. And then an isolated shower on Sunday and chilly again on Monday, only 32 or so. So we've been working on this winter weather forecast here. You know, seasonal forecasting is a tough game, but we made this promo and then we decided we had to actually deliver once we made it. We got Ryan. He is in Brunswick tonight. Ryan, an integral part in doing this winter weather forecast, trying to get a feel for whether or not people want big snow this year or not.
Yeah, you know, it's a challenge, of course, Keith, to go that far out. And we've had a lot of discussions in the weather office over the last few weeks getting this forecast together, and we all kind of took a different piece of the puzzle, so to speak, when we developed our winter forecast. And the one part that I looked at was the ocean temperature in the Pacific, known as the El Nino Southern Oscillation. This year, it's a La Nina year, and that can have an impact on our snowfall here. Here's a little preview of what you'll see in the next half hour. Our typical winter, El Nino, La Nina, about 62 inches. Weak La Ninas, on average, deliver about 66 inches of snow in Portland. But the key, moderate La Ninas produce some of our snowiest winters on record, up over 100 inches on average. Oh, that's just one piece of the puzzle. There's a lot that goes into a long-range forecast, so be sure to stick around for the next half hour. I've been chatting with some of the folks here in Brunswick, and some want a snowy winter, but of course the weather can impact businesses a lot here in Maine as we get into the cold season and get into the winter season. Coming up in the next half hour, I'll chat with a couple of the people here enjoying a nice night out on a fairly chilly November night. Cindy, back to you.
All right, Ryan, thanks a lot. We got a lot more news coming up for you in the next half hour on News Center at 6. Pat Callahan's here with a look ahead. Hi there.
Hi, Cindy. There are likely to be a lot of amendments proposed when the Senate takes up tax reform. Senator Susan Collins says she intends to try to make some changes to the bill, particularly when it comes to deductions that a lot of Mainers depend on. We'll hear from her about that. And as the weather team gazes into the crystal ball for that long-range forecast, News Center Samantha York will verify whether it is worth the hassle and expense to switch to snow tires every winter. Those stories and more in just a few minutes on News Center at 6. News Center at 5:30 is back after this.
If you've been waiting for a contractor to do a job at your home or business, then you know the problem. Not enough people, especially young people, going into the building trades. A young woman at Eastern Maine Community College is bucking that trend. And as News Center's Dawn Kerrigan reports, she is getting some very high-profile help to start her career.
It's about 7.5 inches and then 10 inches deep is about the ideal.
Bailey Beers likes working with her hands.
I like being able to start from nothing and then see either my dream come true or someone else's dream come true.
She's now a senior in the building construction program at EMCC in Bangor, where her instructor says
she's smart, she loves to work outdoors, she loves to build.
And when she graduates in May, Bailey will have a resume unlike any of her classmates.
If you're going to toenail in this direction, the rafter wants to slide that way. So you're going to take your hand, you're going to push it up here.
Bailey is one of 3 apprentices featured on the current season of the PBS TV show This Old House. For 10 weeks last summer, she helped renovate the project house in Massachusetts, learning from the veteran craftsmen on the long-running series.
They're the same as any other person who's been working in the trades. They just dress a little bit nicer. They always look clean.
Bailey had put her name into a national competition for the show, which is trying to promote careers in the building trades.
I did learn a few new skills, a little bit more tips and tricks than completely new skills.
She also got to learn about the building business from the stars and the crew. That's music to the ears of her instructor, Troy Blodgett, who admits he's a bit jealous.
And I grew up watching them, and so it was just nice. I think I was more excited than she was.
Bailey and her fellow students are urgently needed by the construction industry. In Maine and across the country, contractors complain they just can't find enough young workers. Troy Blodgett says his graduates all get good jobs.
A normal student will start at around $18 an hour. Depending on their skill, they could be up towards $20 to $22 an hour. And that's outstanding for a 2-year school, to walk out, be able to work outdoors, be able to create every day.
And that's basically the same motivation for This Old House to feature apprentices, to show the need and the opportunities and the value of helping bring up the next generation.
How do you think you did?
I think I did pretty good. I hope I did pretty good. It was a great learning experience.
And not a bad way for Bailey Beers to start building her own career. In Bangor, Don Kerrigan, News Center.
Bailey plans on getting a job in the building business after she graduates in May. She says This Old House is just about finished with that project in Massachusetts, and she hopes to go there one more time for the final episode. That series with the apprentices continues for the next few weeks, or few months rather, on PBS. That's going to do it for News Center at 5:30. Stay with us though. We got a lot more news coming up for you, all local and all starting right now.